This is Doom, The Dark Ages. We're here on Xbox Series S. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. This is a prequel to Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. It follows the Slayer going through this medieval war where the people are fighting the demons, as is tradition. And, yeah, basically you're stepping into the shoes of this character as he kind of fights for a bit of freedom as he's been tethered down by this kind of weird yellowy stuff, and then also is battling with unlimited rage against a wide range of demonic presences that are attempting to, take over all of the realms and everything like that. You know, the normal demonic stuff that you have to deal with, and you just gotta rip and tear and shred, and yeah, it's pretty cool. You also get this really gnarly shield. You're basically just Captain America now, and it's kind of an interesting change up for this one gameplay wise, as you battle a variety of different enemies across a range of settings, both traditional and some a little bit different that you might not be familiar with, even if you've done your paces around the modern Doom experiences. I don't want to spoil those kinds of things because there is some genuinely cool stuff there, but yeah, I think you'll get what I mean when you're playing through this game and kind of, let's say, getting about 66% of the way through. It starts to get pretty wild, and you get to see some genuinely weird things. Not to say that the opening of the game isn't fairly wild, but there genuinely is some crazy stuff in this one gameplay-wise that you get to experience as you move along through it and visit new areas and realms or dimensions, whatever you want to call some of the places you get to go. So yeah, you'll be exploring, battling, fighting a variety of enemies. There's a de-emphasis on the melee of this game. It's still there, but you're not really doing glory kills, which are kind of like gnarly executions. It's more focused on parrying, which is the continued decay of Souls-like stuff kind of making its way into everything. It's not too bad. There is a variety of different difficulty settings and accessibility things that you can change in order to make that experience a little bit better for you gameplay-wise, which is rather exciting and makes a big difference when you're going about slaying and, discovering some little hidden secrets along the way, maybe some toys, maybe some other stuff like that. So the game is largely linear, but there is a decent sense of freedom as you go about exploring and visiting areas and maybe revisiting some spaces, as you might find some surprises here or there. And you get like a map of your layout, so you kind of know where you're going, but the game does a pretty good job of kind of guiding you along over to where you need to go and what you need to do. As I said, it's very much in line with what we've had in the previous Doom games. It's just a little evolved in a different way, and they're basically taking that same formula and they're just trying to do some different stuff with it, and it works quite well here for sure. It's also the most cinematic driven entry in the Doom franchise, just in terms of I guess you would say story, cutscene, cinematic moments, which is pretty exciting if you want more story. But it is mostly just exposition of other characters, saying blah 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 blah, and then Doom Slayer kind of being like, yeah, or nodding, but more like a grunt, like a grumbling kind of thing. But you get what I'm talking about. That's kind of the storytelling here. And you get to see a variety of not only weapons, but ways that you get to fight. So right now we're on foot. As the game progresses, and you'll see, I think it might fit in, I'm not too sure, it depends on how fast I run through this. There is scenarios where you're not just on foot, you're in like a giant mech running around, smashing and bashing things, which is an ultimate power drive. And then there's also these dragon segments, which I actually felt were the weakest part of the game, which is a bit of a shame because, the dragon was pretty cool, and the dragon was a lot of fun to interact with, but yeah, dragon left a little bit to be desired, because you were like, the best I can describe it is you get on the dragon for like 2 seconds, and then you get off the dragon, you run around, and then you get back on the dragon for 2 seconds, and you run around. And when you're on the dragon, instead of like taking in an environment or anything like that, you're basically just, the best way to describe it would be your auto-lock aiming, pressing a dodge button, and then shooting. And that's basically it over and over again. Which is such a shame. And every time they were seemingly doing like a cool dragon chase or anything, it just immediately devolved back into that other type of gameplay. And it was really disappointing. Seriously, I was just like, oh yeah, dragon, and then I was just like, oh, okay, well, alright. And it never really got better. But other than that, it's really great. It's lots of fun. Lots of different environments, a better sense of scale. It feels large. It feels like they've kind of evolved the gameplay combat in interesting ways. I love how everything flows, whether you're going through an area shooting things or trying to do like a quick puzzle. Nothing takes too long, and it really respects your time. And the full game, it took me about, I think it was like 9 hours or so to go through it, but other people, you're very likely going to take longer. Well, I know for sure you'll probably take longer than I did to go through it, just because I tend to move pretty fast through stuff, honestly. You know, streaming and all that. So if you want to see that in action, you can, for sure, because we did it on the Pro. So anyways, here on Xbox Series S, though, you're probably wondering about, like, the technical details of this game. It's super blurry. Like, it is incredibly soft. It kind of reminds me of when I played Doom 2016 on the Nintendo Switch back in the day, where I called it muddy soup. Yeah, that's kind of the styling we're getting here. Like, it's, you know, I don't really, like, it's the game, right? And it's not like there's insane drawbacks. Like, yeah, but it is blurry. So it's scaling to 1080p. Not just like a dynamic 1080. It's scaling to 1080p. And like internally it's dynamic sub 800 or so p. Like it is really blurry, and I guess to a small degree it does keep its global illuminated ray tracing features, because that's just like a feature set they're just kind of baking into ID. But like it's toned back a bit. Everything is kind of just toned back a bit on this one. Like it is 60 FPS, which is good. Like it is 60 FPS. And there's HDR, and there's VRR. And there is also, well, which is variable refresh rate in case you were wondering. And there's spatial sound and Dolby Atmos. So like it does have the full suite of things. And there are settings, like I said, all kinds of gameplay and accessibility and difficulty settings and font stuff, and yeah, different difficulty for parry windows and everything like that you could change, all these modifiers. And then there is also FOV, which I don't remember if I showed that for the Series X video, because there was crashing on that one for me. Motion blur, accessibility stuff for color rendering and that, so lots of different options in regards to the settings here, which is great. You know, it is great that is something that is available for you on Xbox Series S, but like, I don't know, it's becoming less and less impressive, especially since this is like a first party thing, and this was supposed to at one point, this was exclusive to Xbox at one point, before things got, you know, before the Dark Ages happened. But no, it's first party stuff, it's getting more troubling. But at least we have 60 FPS here. Like I'm coming off of a few ports of things, like a few games that released for Xbox recently on Series S, where I'm just not at all impressed. So at least this one is giving us the frame rate, it is giving us the feature set. So like from that perspective, it's alright. It's just you know, it leaves a little bit to be desired just from a visual standpoint, but it works, you know. Could be a lot worse here on Series S, so I would take that as a bit of a win for this platform, and honestly, if you're surprised by how this looks at this point on Series S, I don't know what to tell you. This is just the state of things on this platform, and it's probably going to get worse as time goes on, for sure. But hey, it's still fully playable. We got a new Doom, which is exciting. Yeah. Let's talk more about the setup here. So, like I said, you step back into the shoes of Doom Slayer. Literally step back as in you're going back in time. He's a restrained individual. He's all caged up. He doesn't like it. They drop him when they need to drop him, instead of when he feels he needs to go out there and be a hero. Obviously, Doom Slayer does not appreciate that one bit. The anger against the demons fuels this aggression, and, you know, he wants to break free and all that stuff. And he does. And then he goes around fighting and smashing and killing things, and, you know, there's some crazy stuff. But like I said, I really, really want to talk about the late game level areas, because they are so cool, but I genuinely want you to experience those freshly for yourself and be like, wow, this is some of the coolest level stuff I've seen. But also, from like a lore perspective and stuff, I don't understand how it makes any sense, but it's cool. It's really, really cool, and the level designs around those spots are so neat and tricky, and yeah, it's interesting. But as I was saying, the game flows really, really well as you move through it. You know, you're gathering resources in order to make yourself a little bit better, upgrade your guns, get different abilities on your guns and weapons and tools. Get a few different melee options. I like the flailing mace kind of thing, which was a blast. Then you can like upgrade your shotgun to do more stuff, and there's like all these different weapons and tools that allow you to battle your enemies. And as you kind of get going and flowing and your arsenal builds up, you're sort of just mowing through these guys like they're nothing. But since this is like the earlier time fighting some of these things, it's a little bit more hardcore for my character to obviously be handling it. Yeah. I'm used to my weapon set on the PlayStation where I kind of have everything, so this is definitely a bit of a combative downgrade for me, but I make it work. What can I say? I make it work. And you get all these different weapons, and it's constantly giving you different weapons too. For instance, we're just getting one here, and then it gives you also like variations on a lot of these weapons. So you're getting like better stuff, and they're all the predecessor weapons of things that you experience in the later games, and it all kind of nestles together nicely. It's, you know, it's a prequel, so you already know the end result of everything that you do technically, but like it is basically just its own little adventure within the world of Doom, and you know, it does its own stuff with the storytelling, and I think people will, I think you'll in general have a lot of fun playing this. I think you'll find it to be a surprise, an exciting one. You get to blow things up. They've had some fun with the combat and that, and like I said, I think a big part of your enjoyment and interest in this game will be whether or not you find the combat in that to be interesting, and if the change-ups are fine for you. It's sort of nestling nicely between what we got with Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal being rather exhausting, the Marauders were super annoying. And like Doom 2016 I felt was pretty well paced and stuff. And this game sort of amps that up, but still like keeps things flowing well. It's just like, yeah, going through it in one go wasn't too bad. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but you certainly can. And I think it's totally fine to do it in that way, if you're crazy like I am. But yeah, I don't think you'll feel the same effects that you might have felt going through Doom Eternal, where it was exhausting. What's going on with my controller? Unbelievable. Yeah, I definitely miss the grenades, but the shield's fun, you know, and you still get some gnarly executions. You don't get all the gnarly executions that you used to get, but you still got some cool ones. And mostly you have to jump hit stuff, but, you know, it kind of works well. It's just like, yeah, it's a little fuzzy on Series S. Super blurry this gen. It's all the upscalers we use on things. Wow, those are my teammates, and I'm just like totally blasting them from behind, and I'm so sorry about that. I am so very sorry. But you will mostly, the blurring gets really bad though when you're outdoors, and you can also notice that like parts of the environment feel like they are a little toned down on things, but yeah, it's about what I expected for Series S, I would say. Like, there's nothing about this version of the game that really shocks me at all. If that makes sense, like, it's comparable for what I was kind of expecting, and yeah, I don't really have any complaints, I guess you would say, about it. It's fun, it's action-packed, filled to the brim with some craziness. You get to have fun as the Doom Slayer. It's something you know, but also a little bit different. The shield stuff is fun, the combat's cool, the different guns are pretty sweet. Love the plasma stuff, but you know, I just sort of upgraded my shotgun, and it's just like sort of whipping through the whole game doing that, but you know, you get like a gun that shoots bits of skulls and stuff and like bones, and that's really gnarly. And there's like the predecessor to like the Gauss and that, and yeah, the Gauss gun, right? Yeah. It's just kind of all the tropes you know for Doom. The enemies you know for Doom, they're just kind of different. And like, you do fight the same thing over and over and over again for like, you know, like 9+ hours or whatever, and that's just kind of what Doom, you know, this is kind of the game is. But at least there is a decent amount of enemy variation where I don't feel like most people will be like, oh, I'm just fighting the same thing. I think you will feel that it is fresh enough when you go through it fighting things that you're sort of like, oh, okay, cool, this is fine. You know, there's some different things going on here or there, and it all flows quite well. And, you know, every level there's something going on, and you never feel like you're wasting time in this. Like, there's always, you know, a knowledge and a push to go and do something, and you can always find where you're headed, because, you know, they certainly give you like the mapping tools and the little guidance bits that can help you get to where you need to go. And if you want to find extra stuff, that's totally on you to move through the environment, but it always wraps you back around to what you're doing really nicely, and I think people will appreciate that. I think just in general, they've put together a really nice Doom experience. It's certainly one that I think a lot of people can have fun playing and enjoying. Like, I don't really foresee many kind of having any problems diving in and playing this game and battling and exploring, and I think you'll likely find the time you have with this to be great. How did that even happen? And it's more than fair on stuff too. Like, you're not, I don't think anyone will really struggle going through the regular difficulty stuff. I didn't find anything too easy. You might almost find it too accessible almost. Like, it's definitely got really easygoing vibes to it, which you'll either kind of like or find to be a bit strange, I would say. No, you'll like this. Yeah, no, you'll like it. If you like the other Dooms, you'll find this one fine. It'll just take like a second for you to kind of get back into the swing of it, as to say, or just get used to the new swing of it, which is more about blocking and attacking and shielding and stuff like that. Like, it all works out well. I think you'll be slaying demons in no time and having a lot of fun doing that, and yeah, every step of the way there's definitely something a little crazy going on, and they always give you these like bombastic, cool action moments where there's just crazy amounts of chaos going on, and you get the chance to like decimate foes as you go through them. Like, it really does feel like they're giving you the power fulfillment, and you feel that even more as you kind of progress. You know, as you kill enough things, eventually you'll be like, oh wow, you just be like mowing through these enemies, being like, okay, this guy again? Okay, whatever. I think that's all very, very well done. And, you know, lots of demonic stuff, crazy enemies and foes to destroy. Some neat supporting characters, and crazy enemies and foes. And it's a Doom game. You know, it's really... They're quite safe titles. We know what to expect out of them in the modern era. And I believe if they just keep doing this sort of gameplay formula, and they just slightly change it and slightly evolve it over time, they can get away with doing a lot of these, and it's totally fine. I am, you know, always excited for a new Doom experience like this, and I always look forward to seeing what they aim to change and twist every time around, but Dark Ages is pretty good.